But their story didn't end there.
How could there have been only one?
And he's back in business.
Is the worst idea in history of bad ideas.
Part 2 is the final chapter in the violent history.
This time, it's personal.
Somebody get over! That's how we did it in the 90s, son!
Can't catch my breath, man.
Really? Should I try mouth stuff?
What is this, a Tinder date? Get off of me. Oh, shit.
Mr. Dante! I need an ambulance at the Quick Stop.
Saved my life, man. Wish I had a life worth saving.
What are you talking about?
Sit around and watch the same movies over and over.
I always thought you could have made a cool movie.
You're right. I'm living on borrowed time. No more watching movies. I'm gonna make a movie!
What's the movie gonna be about?
It's about him working here.
Meta.
Everything in the script is something either me or someone I know said.
I'm not even supposed to be here today. Maybe Jay and Silent Bob could be characters.
Jay and Silent Bob are like C-3PO and R2-D2. They've been here since the first movie, which was the last time they were cool. But they've been with the franchise so long, they still give them cameos and put them on the lunch boxes.
Snifty Booches! Please tell me why. I believe in you.
You put in that stuff you used to say about the Death Star contractors.
Get sued by Disney? No way.
Now that's what I call acting!
Take off your pants!
What the hell is this?
I added a scene where you get shot.
I'm not letting you kill me off in the third act. What if there's a sequel?
A sequel? What am I, a hack?
I think it needs more weed.
If you like Christian crypto, witch doctors, a really small dick, the god Crom, The Last Jedi, or didn't like that, I guess, or maybe did, kites, Ranger Danger, Elon Muskrat, The Impractical Jokers, Boston John, shooting a pornography movie, heart attacks, living a life of convenience, and doing nothing to improve your station or position, then you're going to love the movie we're talking about this week. It's 2022's Clerks 3 from Kevin Smith. This episode's kind of a sequel because we talked the other Clerks movies, didn't we? Or Clerks 2 at least.
Clerks 2 way back in our first season of Revenge of the Sequel.
Wow.
Wow.
How exciting.
Don't go back and listen to it.
No. My name is Manuel.
Hey, what's up? It's Andrew.
What's up? It's John.
And I'm getting a call on my phone.
All right, listen. You're finishing your 8th season with a podcast. That's pretty good. Listen, I don't claim to know anything about fucking podcasts. I know a lot of people are doing them. And I would think doing it for 8 years, you must be having some fucking success. Revenge of the Sequel. Look at you guys. Fucking TikTokers. I don't know what TikTok is. Actually, no. I do know what TikTok is. I was on TikTok once. Can you even do Clerks 3 in the Return of the Sequel podcast? Is a third movie considered a sequel? I don't even know. See, I don't even fucking think about the movie business. I can give a fuck about it. Isn't the third is like a trilogy? Is the third a sequel? I don't fucking know. Listen to me. You go have fun with your podcast. I'm sure you're gonna make fun of Clerks 3. That's okay. That's all right. You want to make fun of my acting? Bring it. Bring it, dude. All right, Andrew, John, Emmanuel, congratulations on 8 smash years. You guys are doing something good. Get it. All right, let me get Jeff here for a second. Thank you guys, Emmanuel. Thank you for letting me do this. It's a lot of fun. I do wish you guys the best in 2023, and I like to fuck around with people.
Edit point. Wow, finally. I mean, what can we say about Clerks?
I don't know.
Now we got to make fun of it.
Now we have to.
After Anderson, yeah.
But, Clerks, formative, I think, movie for y'all. We talked about it a little bit for Clerks 2, but John, I guess just recap maybe your relationship with Clerks and Kevin Smith and the boys.
I think I guess, I'm saying don't want to repeat a whole lot. I don't actually fucking remember what I said in that first season, but like, yeah, Kevin Smith's Clerks, the View Askew universe, and just Kevin Smith, I guess, like his story in general, like kind of like put me into filmmaking. One of the things that put me into like that got me really interested in movies. I think it's just the original Clerks movie was basically just like it's stuff that that you and I did, like just filmmaking coming up together, like just grabbing whoever we know and pointing and shooting and then hoping it comes out okay at the end. Kevin Smith was like one of the first like people to kind of influence me to do that. And I've liked all his movies. I know some of the stuff is kind of like nowadays it's kind of like niche. A little dated. They're very niche too. Like it's showing its age because it's very much of its time. Like it's an early '90s, like the indie filmmaker boom and stuff like that. And he also has like I'd like that all his movies were kind of sequels to each other, even though they weren't. Like you didn't notice he was doing like a cinematic universe back in the day, and I thought that was pretty cool. But all of his movies are I don't want to say like all of them, but like most of his movies like had a pretty great impact on me growing up.
Cop Out.
I love like the style of comedy it is. Like I think maybe I relate to him a lot because he's like kind of nerdy, and I like a lot of like the same like geeky stuff that he does. So and then having him unapologetically do that in a time where you were really just made fun of, like back in the '90s, he was like the original nerd like filmmaker because no one if it was like a Batman question or a Superman question, they probably called Kevin Smith to ask him something about it. Yeah. And so now it's just the norm. Now it's cool to be nerdy and geeky. Like it's everywhere.
He was doing this forever.
Yeah, he's been so that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't want to geek out a whole lot about his on his flicks, but like I enjoyed all of them. Especially when we were talking about I guess the Clerks trilogy. Like Clerks 1 and 2 are pretty solid flicks. The second one is very different from the first one, and this one, the one we're about to talk about, is also very different from the second one. So, pretty cool little diverse trilogy there. But yeah, I think Smith rules. I think he's very funny. He seems like a down to earth type of dude with a lot of energy. He interacts with fans, which I kind of wish he didn't do, but he was one of the first people to kind of do that. Like like with all the podcasts and Twitter stuff, like from early Twitter stuff back in the day. So yeah, cool cat. I'll always watch a new Kevin Smith movie.
Drew?
Yeah, I'm the same way. So I think a lot of these movies I end up getting introduced to, just in general, movies in general, were either by my older siblings or my parents, just because I was around them. And so a lot of these movies, when John was discovering them, I happened to be watching the same TV because we only had one or whatever. And so everything that anyone would put on, that's why I got into Aliens and Terminator and all that stuff early on because that's what my family was watching. And, it's not like I know that you grew up a little bit more sheltered, and I know a lot of friends that grew up sheltered they were kind of restricted, but we only had one TV, so if you wanted to watch it, then you had to watch what was on. And that was me watching Mia Wallace OD at like 5 or 6 years old, in Pulp Fiction. But yeah, and so Clerks was no different. John put it on, and he kind of explained the backstory and stuff like that. And yeah, immediately just fell in love with it at a young age, just because of like what John said. It's just there are some directors that are very, I think, inspiring to the aspiring filmmaker or anybody who loves movies or who wants to get into movies.
He kind of had like a Cinderella story, like
yeah. Well, and you think of like Reservoir Dogs, Quentin Tarantino's first movie, right? He's like Donald Trump, where he's like, man, I got a small loan of $1 million to make this, and you're like, a small loan, like what the fuck?
And at this point, he has like 9 scripts floating around Hollywood too.
Yeah, and so you're like, damn, like Tarantino, he didn't start completely from nothing. Where Kevin Smith was maxing out credit cards, selling his comic book collection.
Kevin Smith isn't a Nepo baby.
Yeah. And so it's the same thing with people like Robert Rodriguez and
a Nepo baby.
Richard Linklater, Slacker, George Romero, where it's like, man, they did it in black and white because it was cheap. It wasn't an artistic decision. Yeah. They couldn't afford lighting, or like the way Silent Bob says it in this movie, very meta. But yeah, there's something really, really, I think, just intoxicating about that type of person, and so that's why I think I was a fan for life from there. I didn't care what it was that he was making. I think his humor, I remember laughing some of like the hardest watching Clerks for the first time with the 37 dicks in a row thing. Like the sequence like killed me. Like I was like crying.
The 37 dicks.
Yeah, and then in a row. God, that one liner right after this, where it's like, my girlfriend sucks 37 dicks, and some random stranger goes in a row, and it fucking killed me.
I think we discovered these movies right before Apatow had his big like debut of like the 40-Year-Old Virgin and stuff like that. So like
kind of around Clerks 2 time, to be honest.
Yeah. And so it was funny though because we were watching them and like. There was already movies like, I've seen movies where like there's a lot of like, you hear profanity, like, shit, fuck, whatever. But you don't hear them to the point of extreme like some of these movies are. And Kevin Smith was like one of the first movies like that I've seen that, just like casually had conversations about like sucking dick or something like that. Like in a very like, relatable way, like where you would talk to your friends about it, like not so much in a
like you're comfortable almost. Like, you're just it's just that type of vibe. But yeah,
it's just about dick, I guess. Just
dick and fart jokes or whatever.
Yeah, dick and fart jokes.
And I mean he admits it too. And I think some of it was super clever. And I don't think there's someone that can write dialogue like him because he can carry out a sequence where it's like 5 minutes long and just two people are talking. And there's not a lot of people in the business who can do that specifically. But and after that I fell in love with the VSQ universe and. People like Jason Lee and Ben Affleck starred in them, and then you get people, look at how many cameos he can pull for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, or even in this one. This is the most star-studded Clerks that has ever been. And I think that's a testament to the person he is, because I know he guilted some of these people to be in the movie because he had a heart attack, but I think a lot of it is because he's a cool guy, and I'll do a Kevin Smith movie for free, or I don't really care, if you pay me, or I'll go uncredited because of the type of guy he is. I think I related a lot to him because I too was too fat to fly at one point. I'm just kidding.
What?
He was always a bigger cat, and now he's small, and I can't relate, so now I don't like his movies. I'm just kidding. I think the only one I haven't seen was the one with Johnny Depp and his, what is it called, Yoga Hosers?
Yoga Hosers,
That's literally the only one I haven't seen. I even saw Tusk. I saw Cop Out. I saw all that stuff just because his name was attached to it, and I'll give it a try if his name is attached to it. So that's the kind of relationship.
Unless it's Yoga Hosers. No, I'm just saying.
No, I'll still probably watch it just because it's him, and I'll put it on in the background and make fun of it, Mystery Science Theater style. But that's why that's some of the reasons why I like Kevin Smith specifically.
He's been around like we said, I guess we'll always watch a flick of him, but he's been been technically one of my favorite filmmakers because of like the stuff he's inspired me to do. I guess
you get these big companies like Warner Brothers or DC, and they're like, he's going to do a moderating for the panel just because, he doesn't even have to have notes. He smokes a joint and ready to go. Yeah. Again, just personable and a really good attitude and just super real, I think.
Yeah, and I think what's most interesting about kind of his repertoire of actors that he uses is a lot of them really haven't changed since the very first Clerks film in the 90s, and we'll talk about that, of course, for Clerks 3, because it actually is a really important part of this movie. But I always think of Kevin Smith's Clerks films as kind of this interesting check-in on kind of his... not just his personal group of friends, but the characters he's created to kind of reflect against society and stuff like that. I mean, so much of it is rebellious and anti conformity, and they will just, actually say that in these movies as well. But it's interesting how maybe that tone has been defiant across, since the 90s,
right,
the 2000s. I think he waited like 18 years for the Clerks 2, another 16 for the Clerks 3 we just watched now. And so for me, that's like, it's kind of similar to Linklater's Boyhood. You're checking in on these people and how they've changed and how they react. And especially when it comes down to Clerks 3, just how much more reflective and not just personable, but maybe how impactful and how important like movies and this franchise specifically is to Kevin Smith's friends. Ultimately,
they're very much. I mean, these are the Clerks movies. I think before it, over any of the other ones, are autobiographical
for sure.
Because he made the first one based on himself and his friend Brian Johnson, and then I think same thing goes for like that second one he made because he was like I wanted to, he was in his 30s and he was like I want to write something that
what's different,
yeah, and so it's really cool that he's doing, and it's kind of sad to think that he's not going to check up on him anymore after this. But I really like that these movies above all of the else are the ones that he kind of throws a lot of his own maybe not his own experiences, but definitely like I think they may have left it by this point. But a lot of his like about what he's feeling or what he's like what he's vibing with at the moment, which is pretty cool.
For sure. Well, let's talk about Clerks 3. We return to the quick stop with Randall, sorry.
You just had Jeff Anderson on the podcast.
I know, we just had him on the pod. Randall and Dante.
Was he in Randall character while he was talking?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yes. Some yes, some no. But I noticed because of his laugh. Yep.
Yeah, the laugh.
I was like, damn, the laugh got me real good.
Yeah. What did you think about Clerks 3, Drew?
I liked it a lot. It's funny because like I was sitting in the theater and when it starts, it was just kind of jarring that I was there again. And then I was like, man, I don't know if this has aged as well. But after like the first 10, 15 minutes, I settled in and I was like, man, I know what to expect and stuff like that. And it played out a little bit differently than I thought it was going to. I didn't know it was going to come back around to a deleted scene from the first one where Dante, at the very end of the first Clerks movie, him and Randall make up and Randall takes down the shoe polish sign and says, you're closed because that sign says, we assure you we're open. And then that's it. But in the original, someone else stops by right after that and someone tries to rob him and it kills him. And they makes it in this third movie. And someone at a film festival I don't remember who told him this specifically, but
I think it was like one of the distributors of like Miramax or something like that.
Yeah, and they had told him like people who don't know how to end their movie kill off their protagonists at the end, and so he changed it because of that advice, and that's why he was able to make two more. But yeah, I didn't expect it to come back around to that conclusion specifically, so it did hit me quite hard at the end because, like John said, like you're not going to check up with these characters anymore, and we've been with them ever since we saw the first one, and it's probably like what year did we watch the first one, John? I know you got it.
Probably like 03 or something like maybe 03 or 4.
So it's like damn, 20 years. And so
we saw the first movie we saw related to that, which we didn't know at the time. I could have swore I've seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That's probably the oldest Kevin Smith movie I've seen because I think I saw it like on video like shortly after it came out, which was like
I
in
saw
2001.
it on Degrassi.
No, it was like on 2001. I think we saw it and then like on cable or something, and it was just like, oh, these are funny characters, and it didn't really hit me until when you watch those older ones. You're just like, oh, like wait, what?
It felt like a parody National Lampoon's like Vacation, not Vacation, National Lampoon's movie where it's like, oh damn, it's just super raunchy American Pie type of shit.
Yeah,
and then you really got to love the characters, and so I think that's what makes this one specifically a little bit it hits hard for me. I do think that it's probably still the least best out of the Clerks trilogy, but I do like the first two a lot. So it's not like I dislike this one. It's fun to check up on everybody and stuff like that. And it's, when you see someone like Rosario Dawson or Ben Affleck in the movie or Fred Armisen or these really, really big names, there it kind of blows your mind and it gives you perspective on how far his reach is, I think, in the biz. Or he's just a friendly person and they're all his friends, I think it's really cool to see that. Like Rosario Dawson was one character that I thought wasn't going to make it back from the second one, especially because she, her renaissance. She was already a good actress at Clerks too, but now she's in Star Wars and she's in all this other stuff, and it's wild. So it was really cool to see her back, and again didn't see that coming. Like the way her storyline went too, where it's like, damn, this is like Dante's life, kind of rough.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I was a little confused. I was like, did I miss something from? We missed something really big. But I was like, did I not remember that part? But it didn't happen.
Some of that extreme subject matter, I'm sure, it probably spins off of his original. I'm not gonna say the original. You can look it up yourself. But the original rough draft of the first one or whatever. But. Very surprising, and I think just fortunate to be here. I was just glad to be back, for sure.
John, what did you think of Clerks 3?
It was interesting. I still like even now, like I've seen it twice.
It seems like you're still digesting, right?
It's just
where you're gonna place it.
I think it's because I hold the franchise in such high regard. I think, or I guess because I have a personal connection to the first two movies, I guess. I would say the second movie wasn't as impactful as the first one for me, but I do have a heartfelt connection to them. So I'm still kind of digesting this one, sort of. I did like it though. It's like what Drew said. It is nice to be back in the world, hanging out with Dante and Randall again. It does feel like you need to get used to things. I think by the end of that first credit sequence, though, you do kind of are like, all right, cool. Like we're back in Goofy Land and stuff, or in Quick Stop Land. Because to me, like the Clerks movies were almost kind of like, they kind of felt very like it's not grounded at all, like in that little universe, the VUS universe. But it felt grounded like the most, like other than Chasing Amy, I guess, because the other ones kind of had their own goofy tone. Dogma is literally a fantasy. So like having or watching Clerks 3 and then having it open with like the the hockey game on the roof and then some legal weed shop and stuff like that. There was a little bit of a silly tone to it that I'm just like, oh, but it was a little jarring at first, but it does like you do get used to it and stuff like that. I like I'm just weirded out by the weird emotional parts of this movie. I guess still like some of it still. It's not that they don't land. I just like I feel like to me they were kind of abrupt when I first saw it. And I don't know. I still like it works definitely as an emotional like anchor. Like I'm talking specifically like the Becky death, and because I was like that happened.
The Dante did too. Shit.
Yeah, and then Dante at the very end too dies, which is also like to me it's still weird. Like it feels it gives the movie kind of like an uneven feeling or like a tone, if that makes any sense. But it does still deliver like a good amount of laughs. It does. I do feel a little weird about it because, well, it is. I don't know. A lot of things do this. I guess maybe we can just talk about this right now. But it's a very much like Smith homaging himself, or like patting himself on the back, which is fine. I don't know where I'm going with this. I guess it just feels kind of odd because you're watching like a movie. They're not making an adaptation of Clerks. You at the very end, you straight up just see the Clerks movie. So maybe it's just an appreciation of what this movie has done for him, which is great. It just there's something, I don't know what it is in me, but there's something off about that for me. But overall, though, like it's a funny movie. I think Jay Muse is like one of the best parts of this movie, which is funny because like Jay has always been like a really cool part of all the like VSQ movies. But I think in the last two, like Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and this one, like he really turns his like comic chops up, and his timing is great.
Jay's been on the pod. Jay and O'Halloran. Yeah. The only person missing is Kevin Smith.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Shit, at this point.
I have a story. He was going to be on the pod in 2020. I didn't tell y'all, but COVID.
Oh, okay.
We almost had him for a signing at the store, too.
But
COVID.
Kofefe.
That damn COVID.
Oh, Kofefe.
That damn bat had to fly out of, I forgot what.
Hell. Bat out of hell?
Yeah.
But I'm really, like, sorry, that was throwing me off. Hey. I'm really happy this movie exists because, like, I never thought you would get a third Clerks movie. I know Kevin Smith had talked about it for years. This movie has been in the works since like 2012 or so. Like shortly after he made like Red State. I think when Red State and Tusk came out. Like the second half of Kevin Smith's career, like the Kevin Smith, or he made like Red State and Tusk, and then he was like, I'm gonna do a Clerks 3.
Cop Out and On.
Yeah, Cop Out and On. Yeah, you're right.
Well, and it's funny because we went to go see Jay and Silent Bob Reboot in person with Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith in the crowd at the Draft House. And then in the Q&A, he starts to talk about this movie a little bit. And we're like, damn, did we just get the scoop on like what Clerks 3 is going to be about? Because then he started talking about the Mallrats sequel, too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so that's apparently happening, too. So me and John got the scoop even before anybody else had the scoop.
Which is so funny because like he was saying it, and then it wasn't like, you kind of like, described it in so much detail. Like when we saw this was a Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, came out like in 2019, I think. Around there, 2018 or 2019. And they had a road show. Kevin Smith likes to do these road shows for his movies. And he did spoil basically. I think we say it even on that because we did a Jay and Silent Bob Reboot podcast too. Mm-hmm. He kind of like goes the entire beat by beat story of Clerks 3, and at the time I think he was just saying it like out loud. But it seems like, I mean, it had it in the works though because I was reading his version of his previous Clerks 3, and he gave that up after he had a heart attack because, to quote, it was written. His original Clerks 3 script was written by a guy who didn't know a thing about death. Because after he had his brush with the heart attack, he obviously felt different about that subject matter. So, I don't know where I was going with this. I guess it's just saying like the where were we going with this?
Shit, I don't know. Where are we going with this?
These are your first thoughts. Damn.
No, it was something that I added off of like Drew about like about this flick. I guess I just interrupted Drew on most of his like thoughts. I guess.
And you were saying on how like you didn't like on how self-referential he was to himself towards the end and stuff like that. But I think it's one of those things where we live in an age of nostalgia, and he makes a lot of his movies based off of what's happening at the time. And so why wouldn't this be about nostalgia when we bottle it up and sell it to each other all the time? And it's the same thing where it also needs to come back around full circle. And so how can you come back around full circle? You know,
just filming Clerks.
You literally show the first Clerks movie.
I told John it's like he's closing his loop almost.
Yeah.
For but I think this movie, I enjoyed all the other Clerks films. And, Kevin Smith's like all comedy is subjective. There's a lot of people it doesn't work for, but that's every joke. Here's one. What do you call? I'm just kidding. Here's one that you may not like and might get me canceled. No, but I think this may be like my favorite Clerks movie, just because it's actually about something. And there's always been this very, very long conversation about Kevin Smith and auteurism. He definitely has a style, but are his movies poignant? And this one is like it's maybe not just his most personal, because obviously the main character is him and he's doing the things he did in real life, but the conscious decision to make it about something he wanted it to be about is like, I think, cements the idea that he is. And I think at the end of this movie, Randall has a hat that says auteur on it. And I think that's like, it's got all the he's always been very cynical about the movie industry. Jane, Silent Bob, every one of his movies comment on that. This one does too, pretty damn directly. But for me, I just felt like there was a very personal thing of, I was so worried about these movies that I forgot what's really important, which is literally what happens in this movie. And his entire career may have been all about getting the next thing, the next project, the next stuff, and not actually realizing how important the people that were around him, basically for every single project, even probably off and on screen, were. And I thought that was like just really beautiful, for an artist to do and still have like the audition sequence, the one with all of those cameos, I thought was hilarious. Like it still had all of that. The fact that everyone's still thinking it's a porno was really funny. Zach and Miri. And then the
DP joke, which is like got me in theaters.
And Elias, I think, is like one of the big hits of this movie, starting as a Christian into crypto and ending as a state. I was like, that's all very like Kevin Smith Clerks adjacent stuff. I mean, not Clerks, that is Clerks, but the fact that he made it, because one of the things about movies is like always they're like, why do you have to make this movie? And to say I just need to make another sequel is lame,
Right. Yeah.
But to say I'm actually dealing with shit right now and making a movie based on that, I think is really cool. And I really enjoyed this movie. And we'll talk about all the other stuff too, because dealing with death is one thing. There's a lot of death in this, it's wild.
It's kind of crazy because I think the other two Clerks have never been about movies or have never been about film, and so that's why I think I do find it odd here because suddenly it's all about that, and it's, and I love it because it's also self-referential. We just talked about what the first one meant to us, and he knows that, and so this movie isn't for new audiences. It isn't to pull any of those people in. It's a love letter to the people that have stuck with them like us forever, and that's why we like it. Yeah, and so that it's kind of tough because it took almost 20 years to get here, and so but the people who stuck it out, that's who's gonna like this movie.
Yeah, and part of me feels like if you had just given him a bunch of money, he would have made a different movie. But he was like, I get Clerks 3 greenlit, but I want to make a movie about this. So I'll lump that into the thing that I'm making right now.
I heard that it was like almost exactly like being on the set of the first Clerks, where it's like, oh, it's lower budget than all the other ones, and I think it's just me, and I'm the one who's doing this and that, and
I think it might have a lower budget than the second one.
Where it's like, damn, this is really, really cool.
It just had
just $1 less.
Yeah, maybe just like $1 million less or something like that.
But still, and I'm sure a lot of it went to paying Melissa Benoist, to paying Bobby Moynihan, to paying Fred Armisen.
I have a feeling they all got paid.
It for free,
like SAG minimum or something.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Favor. Yeah, this is maybe the only time Ben Affleck will do a SAG minimum anything.
Oh, wait, excuse me. It was more expensive than Clerks 2, but that's just because of the time. So I guess.
Yeah. Plus inflation, Biden inflation.
I mean, this was like $7 million. The other one was like $5 million or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, what are some big sequences? I mean, I wrote down lines that I thought were funny. Well,
Shut the fuck up! It's nighttime. Damn, that one fucking killed me.
I like when he said, "I'm not good at sex, but it doesn't stop me from trying to get laid."
Trying to get laid, yeah.
And I was like, that is pretty fun. And there's a lot of that in here, and it's
the Justin Long. Let me give you a little bit more privacy, and then he just
yeah,
pulls it like
and he's got that voice. He's doing that kind of silly Justin Long
the
voice.
The small dick thing at the beginning is actually pretty funny.
It's just Pelimoto.
It's so funny because they're all just like Amy Sedaris is in it.
Yeah,
so good.
All the Mando jokes and stuff is just funny considering who the cast is. Like that's just hilarious.
And then it's also like super recent. I was like, wait a minute, this is like
yeah, you know the Mando 2 thing. Like right, he's making fun of Mando 2 while Rosario Dawson is in the movie.
Yeah,
but that's why I love like the
and
sequences like that. Sequences like that like got me real good because I'm like, man, I never thought I'd hear Randall talking about Mandalorian.
Yeah,
this is so awesome because the original one is the Death Star sequence. Remember when they're talking about the contractors of the second Death Star?
Yeah.
And so you're like, damn, like we talk like that all the time outside.
There's just way more now.
Yeah, and so
Last
now,
Jedi.
Yeah. Now it's like John said, where it's like now it's cool to be a nerd, and now it's like you're seen.
And I just realized Amy Sedaris is in Mandalorian too.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Yeah, Pelimoto.
Yeah.
Okay. So they got Ahsoka and Pelimoto,
and Pedro Pascal is in. I'm just kidding.
I was like The Last of Us.
Is he really? I thought that could have been like a cameo I missed or something. I was
well,
like,
Bobby Moynihan in Star Wars. Boom.
What are some other big sequences that you? Well, let's do this. We'll play a fun game real quick. It's quick. Okay. Last week
just
we didn't
like
do a game.
I like it.
Fast. So the original Clerks film came out in 1994. They didn't submit it to film festivals. They went straight to a market where nobody watched it in a theater except for one guy who was like, let's take it to some festivals.
Yeah.
And it did really well and I guess had a big cult following. Remember, during this time, VHS tapes were like $50, so Kevin Smith got a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like now where you stream once and some guy gets like 2 cents.
You know that at one point, but it was before like the late 80s. Something hit in the late 80s, like I think Batman or something.
Yeah.
Like, before like it was like VHS tapes were like $80.
They were expensive, yeah.
And then it's like when movies started coming out,
Yeah.
and then like people were like, oh, this thing, like, yeah, like as soon as they dropped the price, like those fuckers started flying off the shelves.
This is kind of an aside to stuff, but do you remember the writers' strike from like the 2000s?
Yeah, 2004,
that was
yeah.
over DVD royalties for writers. And now you're like, why did you shut? I mean, that writer's strike killed so many movies and TV shows.
Yeah,
And you're like, for what? Nothing now. Okay, anyways, 1994, great year. I think that was still Bill Clinton and shit. But anyways, not just a great year, maybe one of the best years for film in the modern era. And this is going to test your knowledge of 1994.
Damn it, John's got this with movies that came out in 1994.
That was Clinton. Wait.
Clinton was 95. Or am I
2000
remembering?
minus 8 is... No, 92 was Clinton's first year.
Oh, okay, shit.
Because remember, Bush was 2000.
I'm older than I remember because I was like, I remember Clinton's like...
He was between Bushes. Remember HW?
Yeah.
He loves the bush.
I'm going
Between two
to
bushes.
say something. And you're going to do something. No, I'm going to say something. I'm going to just ask you a question. And now, here's the thing. These are all movies that came out in this single year.
John's got this. I told you I'm bad with years.
Maybe. And I'm going to keep score here. But I think you're going to get the...
I might be thinking of 1993, so you might actually have this, Drew.
We were all alive at that time.
I'm thinking about 1984.
Yeah. Okay. What won the best film Oscar
Fucking
in 1994?
hell. Like, who's watching the fucking...
1994 best film.
Hold on.
The best film Oscar.
Closest without going over.
It's Schindler's List.
Let me count.
That was his guess.
Let me count backwards. Hold on.
Actually,
three
could have been
billboards.
2 things from there.
La La Land. I'm just kidding. La La Land.
You got a guess?
No. Jesus Christ. No. Wait. 1994.
1994.
Best Oscar? I don't know. Wait. I don't know.
Okay, so you guessed Schindler's List. You're wrong.
Damn.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
Forrest
It
Gump.
was Forrest Gump.
I got it right?
Exciting. All right. What's the highest grossing film of 1994?
Jesus Christ.
Highest grossing film of 1994.
Clerks. No, just no, it's not. That's not my guess. My bad.
Highest grossing film.
I have a freaking laptop right here. Why the fuck ain't I? No. I'm
No.
just
John,
No.
Initiate lockdown, Siri.
You're just like turn.
Man, you're right. This game is going to be short because we're not going to get any points, and then that's it.
Here's a clue.
We're
It
just
was
stalling.
animated.
1994.
1994.
Lion King.
Andrew, you're on the board. It was
Booyah,
Lion King,
biatch. Woo! End the game right now.
I was literally about to say Fern Gully, and that was could not be further from the wrong
I think that was
answer.
a bomb. I'm just kidding.
They made a second one, so it's not about.
I'm not gonna ask. So in 1994, TCM Turner Classic Movies premiered on TV.
Right.
TCM in 1994.
Okay.
What was the first film they decided to show? Think of
I
this:
was gonna say
Turner
something-
Classic Movies.
Music.
They said we're starting a movie channel. Here's the first movie we're gonna play.
I almost said something crazy, and I'm glad I didn't
Okay,
and thought
yeah.
it out. Okay.
I don't want to know what that is. Stagecoach. That's still. Was it that one?
That's your guess?
That's my guess.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
No. I'll give you another round. Considered one of the best movies of all time.
Oh, Citizen Kane.
No.
Okay,
Close.
Lawrence of Arabia.
No.
Lawrence of Arabia.
I'll give you one more clue. I feel like if we keep doing this, I think someone will say it.
I feel
hopefully.
like I will give you the first
Big
letter.
epic. How about this? Well, it doesn't help. Greatest American movie of all time. One of the greatest. One of the most famous lines in cinema of all time.
Gone with the
Casablanca.
Wind.
Gone with the Wind. Andrew, you get
okay.
another point.
Hey, I'm doing.
You're like fucking
real good.
Doing pretty good.
Every fucking movie back then was one of the fucking greatest films ever made. You're
Yeah.
just like,
Frankly,
what?
my dear.
I don't like that you ask a 1994 question about an old ass movie.
1994 also saw the release of this in this 1 year, y'all. Okay, this is kind of in this 1 year. I don't know how to ask this.
Just read what you wrote. I'm just kidding.
Okay, in this 1 year, this iconic comedic actor had 3 films release that all are considered modern classics.
Eddie Murphy.
No.
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey
Fuck!
is the answer. The 3 movies:
The Mask.
The Mask,
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber,
I don't remember that.
Ace Ventura.
Ace
yeah,
Ventura.
Detective.
Yeah, that was the year of Jim Carrey right there.
I mean, I was like, oh man, 2 of these are really good, and then I saw the third, and I was like, that's it. I didn't have a lot
Your
here.
second pee-pee? That's all I won.
You won.
There
You
was
won
one
with 2.
thing you didn't
Hell
ask.
yeah.
I didn't read this because it was going to be confusing.
Too hard.
But so you said Schindler's List. That came out in 93, but
Right.
the Oscars were in 94.
So
That's
John
what
got
I
it
was
right.
wondering.
yeah.
Because it's just like because
So John got
usually
it right.
you're eligible for next year's Oscars.
Yeah.
Because like that's why I was thinking Schindler's List.
No, as soon as you make the movie and it's good, you get the Oscar right away.
Immediately.
Damn, we mailed it to you.
But Spielberg won his first Oscar ever for Schindler's List
I
in
see.
1994. And I was like, huh. And he may win again this year. Who knows? That'll be his like second or third in like.
I had a brain fart, and I was like, why would Spielberg win it? Yeah,
Speaking of Spielberg, bringing me back to Clerks 3, this is like.
the Fablemans.
This is the Fablemans.
Kevin
of Clerks,
Smith's Fablemans.
There's a lot of examples of this kind of thing, but filmmakers get softer with age and the closer they get to death, and their stuff starts to reflect how much more sentimental they are.
It is difficult to get
often.
harder as you get older.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you turn softer.
And they do it, they're doing it in like their own ways, and a lot of times filmmakers will do it to reference the industry that either helped them or hurt them. Like Robert Altman's last movie was The Player, which made Hollywood look
bad.
And
Well, and we don't hate the player.
And I'm not saying
the
this
game.
is Kevin Smith's last movie.
You hate the
first of
game?
all.
You don't hate the
It's
player?
not. But I'm saying for this chapter of movies and from what he's gone through, like it feels like he's also on like a similar journey that repeats itself like over and over and over again for I would say like auteur filmmakers, of which Kevin Smith is one.
That's cool. I like that because for a while, like I followed Kevin Smith like through his career and stuff. For a while, he kind of had like an identity crisis during like Red State, and he didn't know if he was
good.
Because he had transitioned to becoming like a full-time podcaster and stuff. This is just from observing and stuff. I don't
And
know,
he says
obviously.
he's a full-time podcaster. Like he says, this is how he introduced
He has
himself.
the Smodcastle, and it's a theater now.
Oh yeah, like Smodcast, and there's probably one of the first podcasts I actually got into, like listening to regularly and stuff.
Yeah.
So like for him to go back and have this like acceptance about like who he is like as a filmmaker is really, really cool, and it reflects in the Dante and Randall characters, which is pretty cool. You're kind of just seeing them grow up when you watch like these 3 movies.
Yeah.
And it's wild that you get an arc like that because you normally don't get like
It's not. No.
They're super adolescent in the first movie.
Yeah.
Like in the second movie, they're still slackers.
That's why I'm like, this is like Linklater level type of revisiting.
Yeah, it's like
After Midnight, before like
yeah,
it's
before
like that
it's the
kind
before
of thing.
It's
Yeah.
Kevin Smith's before trilogy.
It's nothing like whatever his 100-year movie is. Linklater's like weird. I'm never gonna finish this movie.
Oh, the new
but it's
one?
close. Like
Yeah.
it's and I think that's like commendable and it's really rare. And just the fact that like it's a miracle when a single movie gets made. And the fact that he's made 3 and then maybe more if you count like Jane, Silent Bob in this shared universe is like really cool.
Well,
Yeah.
shit, what if there's
Admirable.
a fourth one and Elias and Randall are the clerks now, and then Randall keeps seeing like an angel pop up on his shoulder and it's Dante.
Well, see,
to
like
give Brian or
I can believe that actually happening. Like even with this movie, like having the Rosario Dawson, the Becky character, having your, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, like having them killed off like that is pretty wild. Like it's just
wild. You could tell that it was like a budget reason, where it's like we can't film with her probably
don't-
3 days. Baby.
don't know if it was a budget. It could have been a budget
They're
reason.
like,
It could, but
Like-
also the story I think ended in in Clerks 2. Does that make sense?
Right,
Where
right, yeah.
what would fuck this up?
Yeah, exactly.
And also,
Oh,
like,
death.
what if they would have killed Dante and Becky hadn't died? And you're like, God damn.
What if they Shyamalan'd it and Dante's been
Well,
dead
because
this
I think
whole time?
I think he needed a reason to be like, hey, like Dante was good.
Yeah.
Like right as like
Oh yeah, definitely. And
where it's like, man, he wasn't gonna be good any other way,
Yeah.
and so it's like him dying, like it was a good thing because he could be with his wife, you know, there. And, you're
And
like,
also
"God
At the
damn."
end, that surreal moment in the theater. It's time to go,
So sad.
and like that's it's
So
it
sad.
is.
he was never like fully at home with Randall. He was, you can tell, but like they bickered like a married couple basically the entire time they were
Well,
together.
That's why I kind of agree with you on, like you said, the most happens with these characters in this movie, because the first two are just it's a day in the life of clerks,
Yeah.
of like two people who are clerks,
Oh, and the
but
first one
also
was,
and the confrontation and the resolution is the same, where they fight, they get over it, they keep going. And so here it's like, damn, even if you got over it or you didn't fight,
Yeah.
this is gonna happen either way.
And it's something that's common in a lot of this stuff, especially in legacy sequels, where you reflect back. Like it happens in Top Gun Maverick, like it happens
yeah.
in a lot of things. But in this movie, it was just that much more effective because we actually got to see moments and pictures of these people, and with that added context, it feels like you're watching almost a home movie for
Right,
these
yeah.
guys. But it is like that kind of poignancy at the end, I think, was it's out of characteristic for other Clerk movies,
Totally.
for sure.
I think that's why it doesn't. That's probably what it is for me. Like
Yeah.
it just feels really not in the spirit of the original Clerks
Yeah.
type of stuff.
It's not low stakes,
But it's cool. I mean, I think over time it'll probably feel, because Clerks 2 doesn't feel like Clerks 1. Like
different,
that very much like shakes the mold as well too. Like that one does not feel like traditionally like the first Clerks movie. So
Yeah.
I think this one will age well because of that. I think it's just because it's so like, to me, emotionally jarring and out of left field, that it does feel like very alien.
They're in the same bed he's making dick jokes in,
Yeah.
towards the end. But it is kind of it's not so balanced as much as it is like just an abrupt, hey, life comes at you fast kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which it does. So it's kind of an interesting. But I also felt like there was even a moment, and this is why there are some parts of this where I was like, okay, that's leading towards something that's very different than the way it ended. There's a part where Rosario Dawson like tells him life is still worth living. Remember at the gravesite, there's still
Right,
stories
yeah.
to tell. It gets him to do
You get them to commit to random stuff.
the man. And I hope that process was long, because if not, she was like, hey, life's worth living. I'll see you in a week,
Yeah, exactly.
kind of thing. But I felt like that was almost like therapy for Kevin Smith. Like there are still stories to tell. There's still things to do in this life. So don't be in such like a reflective mood all the time and think of everything being in the past. Because I mean, they very pointedly say like life is passing you by. There's what did he say? Like living a life of convenience without changing it all, which is like what Clerks is always about. They're
it's
just
always
at the same
the
spot.
same spot. Yeah.
I knew he was gonna die from the beginning when she was like, "You should get your heart checked too." I was like, "Why did she say that?"
Yeah, you
And
can't.
it's so funny. I didn't
was like,
catch
huh?
that until like I think my second watch through, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess they did kind of
immediately on the first go. I was looking at it. I was like, "Why'd they make such a big deal of him getting checked?" They're like,
Yeah.
"You're around the same age," and I was like, "That's a lame reason to tell him."
It was a red herring to have Randall be the one that we're worried about. But it's kind of the same thing, like affects everyone like differently, because Randall's like, oh my God, I got to freaking run 100 miles an hour. But it's pretty interesting.
Ooh, when Randall was running there at the very end,
It
like
scared me. I was like,
didn't
"Man!"
you get
and so
scared
I had
for
told John,
Randall?
I said, if I had a heart attack, I wouldn't do anything that raised my heart rate for like a year or two. Like, there's no way I
Be
could
calm.
run.
Yeah,
I
definitely
can't,
not
I
make
can't
a
get
movie.
stressed out.
Yeah.
Well, and like, damn, I would just trip
Yeah.
myself out. Like, I'm gonna have a heart attack now, or when I'm having a panic attack.
then you probably just wouldn't make it during your heart attack. I guess,
I know.
like-
God.
What
Gives
did
me
you think
anxiety.
about the actual like sequences when they were making the film? A lot of actors from the original, come
most
on
of them.
back.
I think-
Most of them.
Some of those were, those are very obvious callbacks. Like you weren't gonna get, but those were cool. I think. Like I think it's wild that he tracked down a lot of the same actors and the same customers.
They're not even
from that.
actors. They were people who were
They're just
just
homies.
around back.
Yeah,
in the
so
day.
it's just like I guess it's just people who were like probably still live in the same
live
area
in Jersey.
or something.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like that. You do see characters that you never actually got any. Because when you watch the first the USQ movies, at least I did, or at least from my interpretation, like you kind of wanted to know where all these characters went to, because you never got like an epilogue with all these, because you were introduced to lots of characters. You're introduced to
everyone who came in.
Yeah, and just not even that, like even from other movies, because you have Coey London in here from Chasing Amy.
That's right.
And stuff like that. And so there's things like that where you're like, what happened to some of this stuff?
From Mallrats.
Ethan Suplee.
Yeah.
He's like a bodybuilder now, but he's in this movie as the same character from like Mallrats and stuff. So it's cool to get all these little like moments with these characters and then seeing them back on screen again, especially like Rick Darris, who's played by I forgot his name.
Well, I see what you're saying.
Ernie something. But like
I mean, you get
he was one of the original like Kevin Smith best friend crew from back in the day.
Well, and like the Milkmaids, and you
The
get
Milkmaids,
the Chuli's gum representative
Flanagan,
and Walt Flanagan. And
I'm googling if the Impractical Jokers are from Jersey, but I bet they are.
Scott Mosier.
Scott Mosier,
is in
who was
there.
his old producing partner. Like
And
they
you're
were
"Holy shit."
friends for like that. They all made all those movies. Like him
Yeah.
and Scott Mosier, and he doesn't. I don't think he broke away with Kevin Smith like on bad terms, but he he went off and did his own thing.
He did The Grinch with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, he
directed
directed The Bench, and then so he came back at as that character is like really cool.
It's
so
beautiful, man.
So I like seeing all the callbacks to the original stuff, and also as a filmmaker, I mean, it sounds weird to say it, but like as people who have done filmmaking, let's say that, at least for me on my end, it's it's kind of cool. I'll geek out every time someone's making a movie on screen because it's a lot of the frustrations are played up like for comedic purposes.
And let's be honest, you have your choice of like 100 movies this year of movies about
about
filmmaking.
movies. Yeah, exactly. So, but seeing it, because I can't relate to I can't relate to Babylon. What the fuck? I've never been.
Hell yeah. I'm going to a party tonight if you want to come.
I've got shit on by an
yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah,
I gotta
baby.
take a piss.
I love me some showers. Baby.
I'll watch Avatar. Babylon.
So
golden showers.
So it's easier to relate like on a small scale level where like people are using like just like a shitty camera or like like a boomstick as a tied up to or like a hockey stick tied up to a boom mic or something like that's pretty cool. So those moments really worked for me as the because then you go through actual like beats and like there's scenes that are recreated with older actors. They're like verbatim from the original Clerks movie, which is pretty cool. I liked it. That was pretty awesome.
I enjoyed kind of the flourishes that, because Smith movies are made, in a particular way where they have to move pretty quickly normally, but there's some like really cool flourishes. There's one where Brian O'Halloran is like putting up a sign on like the cashier or the cash register, and then he dips down and it cuts to like the movie, the black and white movie, and I was like, oh, that's a really cool like effective way to like be immersed back in. And like I was like, okay, I'm getting like that. Who said it? I think it's Del Toro is like paying his temporary film is forever, but like what's in black and white is forever. Like it's ingrained. It's speaking of Babylon. You'll be crying when you see Singing in the Rain later, but like it made, the actual movie and not just the act of making it, but it made the movie really important. Like, and especially the way it ended and the way he sees it and the way that, Dante in the afterlife is watching a movie. Like it puts the actual medium like on a pedestal. Yeah. Instead of just being, so much about the IP that they often, criticize and stuff and be like, hey, this is like, the cinema is important.
Right.
This film and what we're doing and this storytelling is super important. Probably more than anything else that he's done where he's tried that.
It is really cool because when they first started in the first one, it was the Quick Stop and it was RST Video.
Yeah.
And so you always got the stories from the Quick Stop, but you never got the other half. And so I think it's really cool that it ends up floating in this direction because you never got so much stuff that was related to that side of the job. It was a half and half thing.
The interaction between even like interaction between characters. Like Dante and Randall don't talk to Jay and Silent Bob in the original movie.
No.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and
And Silent Bob talks a lot and defends his cinematic choices too. Yeah.
Well, I know RST Video was cock smoker for a little while. The cock smoking joint, the chicken smoking joint.
Yeah, smoked
that
chickens.
was that was a
Baked
drug
chicken
front
sandwiches.
or whatever. And
cock smoker.
Well, they had drugs in the back also, is what they said. And then it turned into the dispensary. But
which I think is funny because Kevin Smith sells legal weed. You know, he has his own strain, I think, in California. And
that makes
he's a
sense.
big fan of weed. Yeah.
But yeah, I love that it kind of floated in that direction. Not just because I love movies, but it would make sense that why didn't you try to save RST Video? You just you saved the quick stop and that was it.
Yeah, and then I guess towards the end we realized that they're just rich now. Like the NFT took off.
Yeah, the crypto. That's why
the kite stuff worked.
It was weird because Dante put up his half of the quick stop for collateral with his ex-wife from the Clerks 2 movie, which is Kevin Smith's real wife, Jen Smith.
Yeah, Jen Smith. It's funny. This guy's name is Austin Zajor, and he plays a guy named Blockchain in the movie. Blockchain is a name.
His Silent Bob, right?
Elias's Silent Bob character, which is. I just wanted to name Blockchain out loud because that's just a fucking funny name.
I mean, and definitely kind of the shelf life on that joke. I don't know how long that is because
crypto's dead.
My NFTs are not worth a lot now.
I know.
Anyone want to buy a Moon Knight from me?
This is definitely a slice of life, like here in the 2020s.
Yeah,
it's so funny because that's probably going to be the part of this movie that ages the worst, like the NFT and like the crypto jokes and stuff.
Yeah. Well, any other big things you want to talk about?
I wanted to go down the list of cameos, just for the name,
just for the name drops,
just for the fuck of it. Yeah.
Already the most star-studded Clerks movie.
You got Harley Quinn Smith as Millennium Falcon. Ben Affleck as Boston John. I didn't know his.
I'm Boston John. Yeah, he starts talking. He talks about so he's acting like in a normal accent, and then he goes back and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is my real accent,"
which is kind of his real.
It's true.
He's from Boston.
So funny.
You got Amy Sedaris as Dr. Ladenheim.
Yep.
You have Kate Micucci.
From say the last name. I'm not
gonna repeat.
You're
that.
What?
The one half of Garfunkel and Oates is playing Mary, the movie's employee.
You're Coochie. Is what
you have Justin Long there as an orderly. You have Fred Armisen.
I think that was my. I laughed the hardest at
Justin
Fred
Long?
Armisen.
Oh, Fred Armisen.
Good. I think I liked that.
He's just funny.
I actually think I laughed hard at Anthony Michael Hall because he's like, I'll fuck anything that moves, and he's just like very like.
Bobby Moynihan as Kevin Smith is funny too.
Yeah, that's funny. So that's like an SNL skit right there. Like I think Bobby Moynihan probably was. Like Kevin Smith from SNL. Like
part of me is like, how famous is Kevin Smith? Like
he's pretty famous.
But I'm saying
he was
like
in Entourage.
I just love that he wore the jersey while he's auditioning for Silent Bob, and you're like, damn, you're not auditioning for Kevin Smith, you're auditioning for Silent Bob. But he put
I think
on the fat
that
man
is
on
an
Batman.
SNL thing. Like I think he played Kevin Smith in SNL,
That
and
makes sense.
And then Kevin Smith probably saw it and be like, hey, can you come do that? So you have Fred Armisen, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr.,
Get to the Impractical Jokers.
Melissa Benoist, Chris Wood, Anthony Michael Hall, Danny Trejo. I forgot about that. Ralph Garman, and Impractical Jokers, Brian Quinn,
Sal
Volcano,
Sal's in
James
there.
Murray, and Joe Gatto.
Hilarious.
You also have Scott Mosier and Ethan Suplee, along with various people like Walt Flanagan and other customers from the original Clerks movie.
The guy who watches the cat shit.
Yeah, he's in.
Yeah, he's in it, yeah.
Rosario Dawson is in a cameo, I would say.
Yeah, and then running at the cows is Mary. You mentioned Jen Smith, Drew, who plays Emma from the second movie.
So good.
Trevor
kind of
Furman.
an antagonist at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish she was an antagonist in that second movie too.
You get his first girlfriend from Clerks 1.
Yeah, you get Marion
thing.
Gigliotti as Veronica, who comes back in this movie, which is pretty cool. It just makes it a little bit more sad that Lisa Spoonhauer is no longer with us. She died in 2017. She plays Caitlin Bree in Clerks and Clerks the Animated Series, which I did not know she was in the animated series.
And I love the animated series.
But yes, this film is actually dedicated to Lisa Spoonhauer, who is an ex-wife of
Jeff Anderson.
Jeff Anderson, I think at one point.
I knew it.
Yeah, so like they but she passed away in 2017. Rest in peace. She would have been cool in this movie.
It's nice to have and again, there's just it's a personal thing for Kevin Smith. These are all people that he knows in the industry, even outside of Clerks.
Yeah, the comic
I think
book
he's
man.
friends with the Impractical Jokers.
Oh, yeah,
because he's on Impractical Jokers.
Oh yeah, Ming Chen and everybody.
The comic book men are at the beginning.
It's just people he knows, and I think that's really nice. And yeah, cool. Let's go around the horn. Give our final thoughts on Clerks 3. Drew.
I love it. I can't wait. I'm actually probably going to purchase the signed script from Kevin Smith's website.
I actually
There's a plug there for his shop because he does that comic book man store. He actually does own it, and he has now a couple of more investments. Like he has movies in California that actually serve cow tippers, and they have vegan options for that
vagina. Yeah, for that vagina.
And then you have he's got the Smod Castle now. He sells his own weed and all that. So. I love it. I love everything, anything to do with Kevin Smith. I watch panels that he's on just because he's attached to it, interviews, the podcasts. I want to go to the Smod Castle to watch at least one movie, like the way we went to the New Beverly for Tarantino's theater. Mm-hmm. Same thing here. I loved it. Yeah, it was really, really cool, and I think it's awesome to see him go out on his own terms. I mean, who knows? Maybe he makes the fourth one in 10 years or whatever with Elias and Randall at the helm and stuff like that if he feels the need to. But there's something because Kevin Smith really doesn't do definite endings. I think often everything is just kind of felt like open ended most of the time, especially because the VSQ universe kind of carries on in the next movie, even if. There's not a next Clerks movie. You're gonna see Jeff Anderson. Yeah, exactly. In that, or maybe it is. I
can see another Jay and Silent Bob more than another Clerks.
Yeah. And so it's like, man,
or like another. I think that this idea is leaving, but I was like another Mallrats. He wants to make another Mallrats movie.
It's
but
like, man, it makes
he hasn't touched that in a while. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think it's gonna be. That one won't be made. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. Or I'm hoping I'm right. I'm not sure. I don't know if a Mallrats thing could be cool nowadays, but we'll see.
It's not the
There's no malls.
It's not the best VSQ universe movie,
really
but
interesting.
It's not the worst. Maybe that's what it deals with. A culture dying out.
Yeah.
We're a dying breed.
They're dead already. Like it's not. They're not dying.
You're talking about Dante? Goddamn. Just kidding. Anyway, yeah, I love it. I can't wait to see the next installment, if there is a new installment in the VSQ universe. And if there's not, then this was a cool ending, I think, for sure. And, I can't wait to rewatch them all back to back.
I'm going to go ahead and say just a little bit more trivia about the Clerks universe in general.
Fuck the plugs. I was like, fuck the...
No, I'll say this. Just like, I forgot to bring this up. Well, the one that I'm about to offer is just like trivia. It's crazy how a lot of Kevin Smith related people go on to do very geeky shit like Batman or Star Wars or something. Because Dave Klein, who used to be who started out as his cinematographer, like they went to school together. He shoots Mando. Dave Klein, like he's the main, I think, cinematographer.
I think
on Mandalorian.
Jeff Anderson was in Clone Wars.
Was he really?
Yes.
Are you lying?
I'm not lying. Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
I know.
We should have asked him at the beginning of the podcast.
I know. Could you do the plug for our Star Wars as well?
Yeah, exactly. And then also the final, Kevin Smith had some narration cut from the final scene of the movie. And he would have revealed, and I think he just obviously reveals that Randall continued to make movies until the age of 90 while still working at the Quick Stop. So he worked at the Quick Stop till he died.
That's nice.
Like Randall. And he also made movies
dream.
there. Yeah. So wonder how many Clerks sequels he made. Clerks 3, really good movie. I was actually, I know I'm still a little bit on the fence of, I don't know if I've completely been cured with this conversation about like some of the stuff that I'm still kind of weird about, but the movie is really enjoyable. And I think after watching it a second time, I kind of like know where I want to go with it. Like, as far as like, liking it, I guess. And I do like it a lot. I just need a few more rewatches. Maybe like a View Askew binge. I haven't done one of those in years.
And you did want to rewatch it though. I remember when it was on VOD or whatever. You're like, I need to watch it again.
Yeah. It was just because I'm still weirded out. Like it's just I feel like I'm in the middle of a bunch of stuff. Like I don't know if it's good or if it's bad, but like I know that like I was for it. I guess I don't know. But Clerks 3 is a pretty good flick. I like that we ended our season off with this one because. Yeah, this is kind of appropriate. Like we've done the other two, we've done Clerks 2 and we've done Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and yeah, like I do what I do on part because of like what Kevin Smith inspired back with the original Clerks movie and stuff. So like this movie was great. It had some surprisingly like emotional moments. It had a lot of like laughs for like that's the only thing that you don't know if it's gonna work. I guess like if the comedy's getting stale or if it's just like if it's too goofy, if it's too silly. No, everything kind of was on brand for this, and it still made me laugh a lot. Great flick. I think. Again, I'm excited for what he does next. I know it'll be very much. It only seems like he wants to do what he wants to do from here on out. So like I think we're only gonna get really cool, even if obviously if they won't be for everyone, but I think like most of the things that he does from here on out might have like a sense of fun and heart to him, because he seems like he's reinvigorated after what happened with this movie. So Clerks 2 is great. I think everyone should go in if they're a fan of the VSQ stuff, or even if you're a fan of like just like raunchy comedy, like because I don't know if you get a whole lot of those nowadays. Like,
not really.
Not at a theatrical level anyway. Like everything's usually sent to Netflix or something like that. Like when it comes to like a comedy like that. So it's cool to see this happening. It's cool to see him still like touring and doing like Q&A stuff because he does that a lot. Great flick.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Again, I think like just on the sentimental level, I think it actually would reward maybe watching all 3 in a row, because this one would hit probably
harder
more.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember the last time I saw the first Clerks movie. So maybe watching the moments in the third one, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Look how young they look.
Yeah.
And I feel like Smith is maybe dealing with the thing that he's devoted a lot of his life to, and trying to I guess comment on what's really important to him in this movie, which again is like off-brand, because Clerks are normally very like, or the Clerks movies are very breezy and not so introspective, and this one is just really, really introspective. But I enjoyed that, and I think that it shows just how formidable he is as a filmmaker, in this one especially, maybe. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that, and to see it here is like really cool to see. But yeah, we've come to the end of this ep and this season, so it's going to be a while. 16 years, I think, until we come back.
Right,
just kidding.
Yeah. Or it might be very soon, because there's like seasons that start up.
Yeah.
We might do one-offs, like, and I think we should probably say that.
And I have a feeling we're going to talk about movies, but may not release them until like late. Does that make sense? Like if a movie comes out, we're like, oh, it was fucking great.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I was thinking.
Mario's awesome. We got to do 5 eps on Mario.
That's
Super
what I said.
Mario
I was thinking, because there's sequels that's starting up pretty soon. So I was like, thinking we might do one-offs, but I'm not sure when you'll hear them. I'll say that.
Well, how about I'll say this: everyone on Patreon, you're going to hear them.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Quickly. Everyone else, you wait until normally I think October or whatever.
Exactly. So if you still have interest in October, tune in, or you can just sign up for the Patreon cheaply, and then listen to them there first.
Let's be honest, this shit's going to streaming in like 5 seconds nowadays. So
I thought you meant Clerks 3 or this podcast.
Like,
and I was like,
all
oh shit.
movies. I'm saying every movie is gone from theaters.
That's true. I mean, unless you're Avatar or something.
Yeah,
like
or
that.
Top Gun. But
Tomcat.
Drew, what do you have to plug? Remember, this plug has to hold people for
a while.
Until
so only shows that we know are gonna
at least 9 months. And then also, it's not like you can't hear us. There's other places to hear us. But yeah,
my house,
my voicemail.
Check out the Dirt Sheet Radio with my boy John Escudero in the streets, Juicy J in the sheets. If you love the Dirt Sheets, that is.
It's in town.
Yeah, what? Oh, the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
Yeah, so when we're recording this, one of the biggest professional wrestling events of the year is happening.
Dome.
And so, I'm going to go meet Undertaker.
Okay.
And then also, go check out the Countdown Strikes Back for all your Star Wars needs. We're going balls deep in that stuff right now.
Bad Batch, Mando.
Bad Batch, Mando, Jedi Fallen, Jedi Survivor, and then there's I think the Acolytes this year, and Ahsoka, and holy shit, there's so many
this year.
There's a Star Wars resurgence this year.
Yeah, the Star Wars Hunters, that new Switch game that's supposed to be a PvP.
Somehow Star Wars return.
I'm sure we're finally going to do that about 2 episodes now that more than 2 of us have gone there.
Oh, yeah. We can eat like a food from
Brett needs to go.
or something.
Yeah, and you could just ASMR me eating the ass out of a Ronto wrap. Me eating the ass out of a Ronto.
What the
I think I had the Ronto wrap. Oh, no, I had the little... What are those little hot dog thingies? Like, there's like a little, like a...
That is the Ronto.
PP.
It's a Ronto, right? Was it Ronto wrap?
Yeah, he did have a Ronto wrap.
Yeah.
There was one better,
coleslaw.
though. There's that Wakanda, like... There was a Wakanda dish.
Yeah,
that
so
was,
they
like, really
were
cool.
having a flavors of
At
Wakanda.
Batu?
Not about two.
It was
Sorry.
in Disneyland.
They're
but
adventures.
They are screwing up.
Well, and like John tried the blue milk, and he was a fan. I didn't think he was
I
gonna like
loved
it.
it. It was freaking
It
awesome.
was delicious.
The
I don't
other
wanna-
milk is stuff we get here in San Antonio.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't
the
drink the
sour
green one
milk.
because Drew was like, the green one's just not as good. I really wanted to, but I got the.
Tastes
It was
like
also
yerba.
the thing is like I wasn't gonna buy 2 milks. I mean, they're $8. So
That's
just
too much
like-
milk for an adult on a
when-
weekday.
when he could just-
in
when
the
he could just-
afternoon.
he could
$8 and like the cup is this big. So
When
I'm just
then you
like,
could just suckle it off of a manual.
Do you remember we did this is like a totally different podcast. We did for our Star Wars podcast drink blue milk here.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah,
You made it.
I made it. It was probably bad.
It was made
You
mostly.
know what's fun? It's pretty good.
What was
toothpaste
it? It was just milk,
was
and I
just
put like
toothpaste and jizz.
Jeez,
You know, all you need to
it
really.
had just turned.
I don't know. The Star Wars website has. It's just milk, like food coloring, and like vanilla.
Well,
That's all
I
it
think
is.
I put like blue punchy milk.
Yeah, like I think I put in the sour
You
powder.
I put in blueberries.
Yeah.
Just like in the
I
thing.
went and milked a
He's
damn
like
cow.
I put my blue balls in it.
I blue balled for a month
just.
just to make
Just
this
to
milk.
squeeze,
Yeah.
yeah.
John, what do you have to plug?
I'm gonna plug
It's
this.
very Clerks level jokes.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Dick
Thanks,
and ball jokes all the way.
thanks, Kevin Smith, for inspiring. That's actually really true, though. I mean, well, whatever. But
Huh?
no, I was talking about the inspiration. I'm gonna plug this podcast. I know we're going off the air here.
Yeah.
But go check out if you haven't listened to episodes this season, go check those out, or
The
go listen
backlog.
to backlog of previous seasons.
While they're still there.
There's some and before we like run out of server space.
Don't
but,
listen to Jaws 2.
or Jaws 3.
Please don't listen to any of the
Go
shows.
listen to
Speed
the
2.
go listen to the Human Centipede episode
That
from
one probably was okay.
2015.
Actually, yeah. No?
I don't know actually.
Lots
Don't
of-
listen to
lots of-
Magic Mike. I know
Lots
that
of
one's kind of a
ass
mess.
to
Oh, yeah,
mouth
that's right.
jokes.
You're
Look,
just naming all these things that people are gonna be like, let's go listen to this
I
shit.
forgot it's searchable. Damn.
Hellraiser 2.
That was a good one, I think.
Yeah, but listen to Revenge of the Sequel. We'll be back next season with some new stuff.
Yeah.
Possibly, I don't want to say that. Maybe something else, but
We're
like
gonna
it'll be
release a
really
Puss
cool.
in Boots episode next
Oh
week.
yeah, there's a Puss in Boots episode.
Bonus
Fucking hell.
app.
But yeah,
Pretty good.
Other than that, yeah, I don't got much else to plug.
TBS, here's a teaser. Puss in Boots deals with the same things that Clerks 3 deals with. It's wild. What's happening right now? It's like we went through a pandemic or something.
Everyone's just getting ready to die, and they just want to like just
fuck
like
it. Thanks so much for listening to this entire season. We're 2 years away from a decade of sequels. Why
Revenge
does
of the
Hollywood
Sequel.
do
That's
this?
Wild. That is wild that we've been doing it this long, and probably taking no more seriously than we did that first recording.
We've tightened it up a little bit, that's for sure.
That's
'cause
true.
We keep telling you not to
And
listen
let me
to the
tell you
backlog.
why. Because the mob, the woke mob.
Okay.
All them snowflakes. I'm just kidding.
They're
That's a joke.
bye.